Hello. Okay, this video is going to be about the first section in our final review, and that was the section that covered homonyms, synonyms, and antonyms. Okay, so just a quick review on each one of those things. I'm going to switch over to my camera mode. All right. These are things that we have in our language journal. If you still have your language journal with you, I hope you do. You can look these up. All right. So homonym, synonym, antonym. Okay. If you remember when we did our Greek and Latin roots, okay, one of them that we had was homo. Okay. When we see that at the beginning of something, we learned that this means the same. Okay. All right. So when things are the same, this is a very common prefix that is used. Well, a homonym means that things have the same sound. Okay. They sound alike. They may not be spelled alike. And the meaning is going to be different. Okay. So the same sound, but different meaning. All right. So when we work on this on our final review, we know that every word is going to be pronounced the same. We just have to choose the correct one that fits in the sentence. So this is where context clues is going to come in, and it's going to be really important. Okay. Now, right after your final review in your book, you have what's called your handbook. That's just a quick little place that gives all of your rules. Okay. So in the handbook, you can find information about homonyms on page 311. Okay. And that will also give you some pages from the book where we actually practiced with those. Okay, so that is one skill that's part of this, and actually it is the first section. Okay, and you are asked to underline the correct homonym as you look through these sentences. All right, so I am going to highlight them as I go over a couple of these with you. Okay, so number one, ask which pair of shoes did you decide to buy? Well, like we just said, all three of these words are pronounced pair, but when we're talking about shoes, which one of these is the appropriate word to choose? Okay, and it's this one. Now, here's my question for you. If you're just really, really not sure, where's the best place to look? A dictionary. Okay, all right, there's some of these that you made. This one is a pair, meaning you have two of something. Okay, this pair is a verb. Okay, and this pair is the fruit that we talk about. So when we're talking about shoes, this is the one that makes sense. All right, the students will receive their yearbooks today. Okay, these three theirs are something that we talked about in class. As a matter of fact, we made a page for that in our language journal. I was looking to see if I could peek and find where we put that in our language journal, because these are three very commonly misused words. All right, and I'm not seeing it, just glancing over it, trying to be real quick with it. Okay, but we discussed these. If it is the contraction, it means they are. So the students received they are yearbooks yesterday. That doesn't make sense. Okay, the second there, remember this, when you cover up the T and you have the word here, you're talking about a place. Okay, is it here or is it there? Well, that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about students receiving yearbooks. This there is showing possession, showing ownership. The yearbooks belong to them. It is their yearbooks. So this is the correct choice for this sentence. Okay, so homonyms, I'll give you a second. Look real quick and see if you can find the correct homonyms, and I will pause this and I'll show it to you again in just a second with all the right answers. Okay, here are your correct answers. If you need to pause this to check your answers, that's fine. If there are any of them that you're not sure about, ask a grown-up about them or look them up in the dictionary. Okay, so these are the homonyms that are the correct choices. Please remember, if you have a contraction, think of what it would be if this word was divided into the two words that make up this contraction. Who is the new captain of the baseball team? it is time for the cat to have, we wouldn't say to have it is dinner because that contraction is there. So if it's a contraction, a great test is always to take that contraction and divide it into the words that were used to form the contraction. Okay, all right, so that was homonyms. Okay, so next we are going to move along and we are going to look at synonyms. Okay, synonyms, if you remember, we talked about these very regularly because we often had assignments where we used synonyms. All right, where we had to find a synonym and an antonym. This was part of our spelling and vocabulary, guys, a lot last year. Okay, so my reminder for synonym was that synonym begins with the letter S and the word same begins with the letter S. Okay, so synonyms are words that mean the same or really close to the same. Okay, antonyms, look, if you write a lowercase a, I'll do it up here so you can see it better. If you write a lowercase a, you could write an O and then put a line like that to make an A, okay, for antonym. All right, and that sometimes can be a reminder, either that or the fact that antonym and opposite both begin with vowels, okay? So antonyms are opposites. Boys and girls, this is something that you've been learning and you've been practicing with for years now in school, okay? And some people might say, when is that ever gonna come in handy? Well, synonyms and antonyms are very useful in helping you figure out words that you may not know. For example, I'm gonna give you a Jerome word, okay? Look at this word right here. Okay. If someone was described as parsimonious, well, she's acting very parsimonious. Well, you may not know what that word means, but what if I told you that a synonym for parsimonious, a synonym for this word, is stingy? Okay. Well, if I told you someone was acting very stingy, you understand what that means, right? So sometimes if we know a synonym of a word, it helps us understand it because parsimonious is definitely a Jerome word. So if stingy would be a synonym of parsimonious, an antonym for parsimonious would be someone who would be very generous. Very generous, okay? So synonyms and antonyms can help us understand word meanings a little bit better, okay? So as you continue on your final review practice, okay, this next section is strictly about antonyms, okay? So antonyms are opposites, all right? So they want you to find the antonyms and arrange them in pairs on notebook paper. Okay, and their example is down, 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 sinks the flag of France. Up, 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 mounts the Star-Spangled Banner. Okay, so you have down and up that they have put together in a pair. Okay, but then you also have sinks and mounts that were listed as a pair of antonyms. Okay, so as you read this, have in your mind finding words that are opposites of one another, okay? It is not what we take, but what we give that makes us rich. So what are words here that are opposites of one another, okay? So take and give are antonyms. They're opposites, okay? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause real quickly. I want you to finish these other three and then unpause and look and check your answers real quickly. Okay, here's a quick peek at the answers. And you can see on 2 and 3, it was like the example. We had 2 different sets of antonyms in those sentences, okay? All right, think C is about synonyms, okay? So as you're working on think C, you are strictly thinking of synonyms and words that mean the same or almost the same. And this is just a challenge for how many words that you can think of that mean the same or nearly the same. Now, this is to write as many as you can And, you know, I just at least put one or two. Okay. If something is comical, it is funny, or you know what, it might be really funny. So you could use the word hilarious. Okay. See how many Jerome words you can come up with that can be synonyms, that can be big, juicy, complex words. Okay. All right. So this is just kind of a challenge. Okay. Then on D, look what they want you to do. Now this right here, you could just jot some words beside these. All right. But on this one, you are going to kind of need a piece of paper because look, they want you to write a synonym, an antonym, and a homophone for each of the homonym, excuse me, for each of these words. So this does kind of need a piece of notebook paper. Okay. So, so the first word, this, and I'm going to kind of make a chart. Okay. The first word is sweet. Okay. So that's my word. Okay. So I'm going to put an S for synonym, an A for antonym, and an H for homophone. Okay. So sweet. What's another word for sweet? A synonym for sweet. Synonym for sweet. Chandler, what's a synonym for sweet? If something is sweet, sugary. Because sugar is what gives things its sweetness, okay? Antonym, opposite of sweet, is often thought to be sour, okay? And then a homonym, something that sounds the same. This might be a little bit tricky. When you go sometimes to stay at a hotel, you can rent a hotel suite, okay? It has a little bit more amenities to go with it than just a bed and a bathroom. It's usually a little nicer, a little bit more comfortable to stay in a suite, okay? So that is what this last section, this thing D, is about, using all of them. And you know, do the best you can on these. You may need to get, if you need to have a suggestion from a parent or somebody, that's fine. That is perfectly fine. Okay, so that's that section. And here's the thing about this section. I'm not going to show you answers for this because this is really what you think, the words that you think about and words that you come up with. Okay. All right. So then we also have on page 292, because this was a skill that covered a couple of pages. Okay. All right. 292, it continues, and you are looking for antonyms of the words that they have in parentheses. And look at here, they tell you that you can use a thesaurus, because we talked about a thesaurus being a great place most of the time to find synonyms, but a lot of times a thesaurus will have antonyms as well. So everywhere that they have a word in parentheses, okay, the students were rude to the classroom visitors. How shameful. Okay, so what you're going to do is think of a word that you could use instead of rude. Okay, but we don't want them to be rude. We want them to be the opposite of that. So instead of the students were rude to the classroom visitors, we could say that the students were kind to the classroom visitors. Okay, so go through this list and think of words that mean the opposite, that are antonyms of what's in parentheses. Okay, so think of some words you can think of. I'll give some suggestions, but of course what I'm going to give is not going to be the exact right answer or the only answer, but I'll give you some suggestions. So pause it, do yours, and then look at some of the suggestions I'll list for you. Okay, so pause it and take care of those. Okay, here are a few suggestions that could work in these sentences. I want to challenge you to come up with some Jerome words. You might come up with some more fancy words than Ms. White, which would be fabulous. I would be excited about that. Okay, so that's practice with antonyms. The next section, boys and girls, is the same thing, except instead of practicing with antonyms, you're going to practice with synonyms. Okay, so you're going to follow the same directions. In the blank, write a synonym of the word in parentheses. You may use a dictionary or thesaurus. Okay, so you're going to try to think of words that mean the same or nearly the same. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here that we did before. I'll pause it, and then after you've done them, just unpause it, and it'll just be some of my suggestions. It will not be the only answer. It'll just be some ideas. So do these real quick and think of words that mean the same or nearly the same. Okay, again, these are some suggestions of words that could be used that mean the same or nearly the same as the words in parentheses. If you have words that are different than these, that's fine. That's okay. All right, and then the last section here, they want us to concentrate on antonyms again, okay? So our brains need to be thinking about opposites. Now I want to show you something about the way that they have this arranged, okay? They have 1 through 7, and then they come over here and they do 8 through 14. So what makes it way easier is to draw some kind of line to separate these, because you won't even pay attention to these while you're doing these over here. So that you won't come to one of these and match a word all the way over here. You have 2 columns, okay? So you're going to find an antonym, a word that is the opposite of courageous on this list, and you're going to draw a line to connect them, okay? So if someone is not courageous, we could say that they were cowardly. All right, so that's how we're going to do it. After you finish this side, then you do the other side, okay? So take care of that, pause it, and then unpause it, and I'll show you the answers real quickly. Okay, here are these all matched up. That was a lot of lines to draw, okay? I tried to make it so that they weren't all jumbled up together too bad. So you definitely may need to pause this to check your answers on this. So feel free to do that, okay? All right, so that covers the pages that were part of our final review that really concentrated on homonyms, synonyms, and antonyms. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, let me know, and I'll do another video about the next section so you guys can check that out. Okay, all right, let me know if you have questions. Thanks.